Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 2 premiere of Outer Range. Great season premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, I think the episode opened on the young Cecilia and Royal. I thought that was just kind of giving us some backstory, but it's like, no, everything happens for a reason. It matters because it literally how the beginning of the episode plays out, ties into the ending, where lo and behold, you have Perry showing up. Because you saw him come out of the ground like near the end of the episode. You're like, so when are you? Lo and behold, here he is running into his parents when they're younger. They might even be younger than what he is now, so that's crazy. So they say like, oh, you want to work as a ranch hand? Go over to the Tillersons, which is like, what's that going to be like? I mean, once again, we don't even fully know, once again, the timey-wiminess of it all is kind of like all over the place. And do forgive me, once again, I have not had an opportunity to rewatch season 1, so I'm catching up, flying by the seat of my pants. So I don't think we ever got any clarifications last season about how the timey-wiminess works. So it's like, right, you're in the past. What if you change things, will it actually impact the future, or is it just going to be a thing of not splinters off into another timeline? Once again, we haven't really, is there any really changing time like that? To be fair, we know Royal went to the future, but he didn't get a real clear cut of but is that future he saw back in season 1 even viable anymore? Did things change so much when he came back? Stuff like that, so being in the past, how much is time set in stone, and how much is it's a fluid situation that could easily change. So, but yeah, like him working with the Tillersons, is he going to try and sabotage them? So they're not as much of an issue for his family in the future, or what? Once again, you're in a time frame where it's like your daughter doesn't exist. How do you handle that? What is Perry's story going to be? It's definitely going to be interesting to see. I guess it also feels befitting considering, Royal's a man out of time, and of course one of his children would be out of time. And I guess with just everything, it makes sense for it to be Perry, because I guess for me it feels like Perry's probably more like their dad, and maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like he's got that dog in him like his dad does. So I feel like he's probably more like his dad, but maybe I'm not giving enough credit. He's probably a lot like his dad, but I wonder if he's going to be a lot more like his mom. Especially when you think about the parallel of him at the hotel with Maria, and lo and behold, who happens to drive by his mom, who was calling him earlier. So it's like, it's funny how the universe works like that. It doesn't say anything to Maria. He recognizes the car, but he doesn't say or do anything. It's like, right, it's just, trying to get his happily ever after, not aware of just everything that's going on while you're going. It's like, yeah, it's that conflict of what you want versus everything else that's going on. You kind of put your family first for so long. It's like, I'm put my own happiness first, but at what cost? You never know the domino effects of how that's going to play out for Rhett and Maria's story, but also don't know what that means in a grand scheme for your family, especially because they're trying to piece themselves back together. So there's a lot on that front. But let's kind of take it from the top, where we're picking up with the season 1 finale ended with Royal taking Autumn home, and believing that she's Amy, and he tries to explain that to Cecile, but she's like, what, are you crazy? Take this girl to a hospital. I'm looking for Amy. And he's like, I'm trying to talk to you, but she doesn't want to listen. It's like, right, you spent so much of last season keeping secrets and lying, so of course she's not really going to believe you. But now Autumn's like, why do you believe I'm your granddaughter? Does she have a scar on her head? What's going on here? She's even wondering, is that why you bothered saving me from, the stampede and stuff? What about Billy? It's like, I wasn't worried about Billy, which Billy's still alive. Interesting. I wasn't expecting that. I thought Billy was dead, but nope, Billy's still alive and kicking, so that was interesting. But it ends up becoming this thing for Royal where it's just his life got a lot more complicated when Autumn came into his life. But it's like, if that's your granddaughter, then it's like, arguably, this started with you. Who knows? At least when it comes to your family, this all started with you, finding your way to present day. Oh, not present day, but, when you first arrived in a time that wasn't your own. But who knows if that pre-existed, was the first instance of that, ground opening up in that black sludge. Was that him? Was that the first ever instance of it, or has it been there before? Once again, timey-wiminess of you never know when that could have opened up in the past, and just no one knows because of people who've discovered it fell in and it closed up. So no one was the wiser. But yeah, it's like for him, it's like to me, he blames Autumn, saying like his life got complicated because she came into it. But it's like, well, that's your granddaughter, and then, once again, this all started with you, so you're kind of like the one that kind of kicked us all off. So trying, because he's also trying to be so patient, because he has such a complicated relationship with Autumn, and now it's like the conundrum of, I think you're my granddaughter, so I'm trying to, he's like, I'm sorry I yelled at you, I didn't mean, I'm not gonna hurt you, I want to make sure you're okay. It's like he's trying to like handle her with soft, because it's like, right, you don't remember anything pre being 9. Well, Amy's currently 8, about to be 9, so a lot of that stuff lines up. So it's just like everything in this episode is like just chaotic because of the stampeding bison. People are kind of like, yo, what's going on? Joy is missing, which I completely forgot about where Joy's circumstances were. Glad we got back to that this episode, because I would have completely forgotten. Because so it's not only Perry that's in a wild, different time, it's also Joy, which I'm like, you're probably the best person, like, it's jacked up to say, but you are the best person to end up in that circumstance, you know? Because it's like, right. Especially because, like, you're caught between, like, 2 warring shops. Or was it, like, I don't think it was the Shoshan. Like, she pointed to one of the people being like, okay, that's Cheyenne. I'm Shoshan. I don't know if I would assume the people she's talking to are Shoshan as well. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. But it's like, the reality of, wait, where the hell am I? What's going on? She tried to walk backwards and that didn't go. It's just more empty plains. So it's like, okay, how is Joy's circumstances going to play? Like, how the hell are you even supposed to get back? Because at least for Perry, at least when he fell and woke up, it's like, well, the portal, like, in the hole in the ground is still there if it doesn't close up, but it shouldn't. But Joy, like, I once again, it's my own fault, because I'm like, I don't even remember how Joy got to the past, because she didn't go in the hole. I think it was like, maybe it has something to do with like the flickering of the mountain disappearing and stuff. Like, right, stuff is spreading and it goes beyond the hole, like it's happening to the, like, it's spreading throughout the town. Maybe there's kind of like some, on magic terms, maybe there's some ley lines that this is bleeding through and it's slowly affecting, like, oh yeah, stampeding bison and disappearing mountains, which you even hear over the radio. It's like, oh, do you think it's aliens? And someone's like, yeah, I think it is. We also catch up with Luke, which he's got some of that good in him now. Now it's like, oh, he's seeing glimpses of the future. He saw, like, him visiting in a hospital to see his brother. So I'm like, oh. And then also he saw, God, I was literally about to call her by her real name. I was about to say Imogen. He saw Autumn. So I was like, but then there was also another flash where it showed him and Autumn later on. That I'm like, oh, are you two going to end up becoming a couple or something? Like, what's up with that? Which I don't know if that's going to be a Romeo and Juliet thing, warring families, the Tillersons versus the Abbotts. Feels like that might be the case of what that is. But because it is interesting, like, he's that moment, like, they replay it later on when it actually happens, and him walking past her and just staring. I'm like, does feel like there's something there. I also did never piece that together because I'm so stupid. Obviously, the actor who plays Luke, Sean Cepas, I'm probably like butchering that. I did not remember he was in this when I was watching Reacher, because he's in season 2 of Reacher. But it's like, right, DC-wise, he was in a show. He was in Krypton, which was a time, for the most part, basically kind of a time travel show. So it had time travel elements, and he played a time traveler. So it's just funny how that works. I don't know if I thought about that. Maybe I mentioned it. I don't remember. You know, wasn't season 1 in 2022? I think it was. I don't remember like any of my discussions for that. I typically don't after a while anyway. But regardless, just funny how that stuff works. Like, if I didn't bring that up during season 1, I'll bring it up here with saying that point of just interesting how that works. But he eventually went home and found his dad. He said, whoa, you're supposed to be in a coma. It's like, nah, I'm fine, son. I'm like, I was like, because I, once again, don't remember season 1. We got that flashback where it's like, oh, you did kill your dad, or did you attempt to kill your dad and Billy stopped you before you could? But regardless, your dad's fine. And it's like, didn't he have like a rock, and I guess maybe some of that rubbed off of him and healed his wounds maybe? Cause like, why? Maybe it like rewound his body a little bit, so that's why he's in better condition. But yeah, he goes with Luke to check on Billy in the hospital, and Luke's like, "Oh, I know what's in the West Pasture on like the Abbott's land and stuff," but his dad doesn't really listen to him. Hell, I forgot about the point before he ran into his dad. He was tripping balls at the house, and he was listening to like a voice, which is kind of his. So it almost kind of felt like some. If you've ever seen the show Manifest, it kind of gave Manifest vibes of like, oh yeah, like their callings were usually in the form of their own voices, because it's like, hey, it's us who've seen potentially. I still need to go back and finish the final season. I only served like the first half of the final season, but it was kind of like maybe like that's his future. Well, no, because it was like it was responding to him, but it's like. Because I was about to say, is like, could it be like a future you that I mean, you did have visions of the future, so like, could it have been a future you talking to you? But I'm like, nah, it can't be. Maybe whatever that essence is, just like started messing with your head. But it's pointing out, like, yeah, you have one brother that's a little wild and crazy who just sings to himself, and you're still in third place when it comes to him and your dead brother. So you'll never kind of be good enough. Going to teach you to do what you need to do for all that power so that you're never a loser anymore. So we have that element to it. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. We also have the situation with Cecilia going to the police station trying to get like a missing persons report on Amy. But I think maybe this kind of speaks volumes that she ends up going past like the missing children poster. If you notice, it's a lot of indigenous children. So it's kind of like a twofold thing of like maybe probably if it were normal circumstances, it is effed up. Amy would most likely get more attention, so there's that. But I'm sure Cecilia's more so. I don't know. She's probably also thinking like, here's some children that were never found. Like, what if the same thing happens to Amy? And then like someone was like, hey, Cecilia, I can't believe I saw Rebecca. It's like, what? Rebecca's back? It's like, yep. So she went to go see some dude. I don't remember the dude's name. Lewis, I believe. Was it Lewis? And had the shotgun ready and everything. But the dude's like, yeah, I haven't seen Rebecca in a long time, but she came back to do what she promised to do, and that was get what was taken from her. It's like, yeah, and then what's going to happen once Amy finds out what you said to her mother? And it's like, Cecilia's just stressed because it's just like, right, you've tried to do right by Amy, and now it's like all coming undone. And it's like, what if the truth does come out? What is Amy going to do? And it's interesting considering like, right, there is an Amy in front of you. Well, you came across one, you just don't realize it yet. Which we did catch up a little bit with Rebecca. Granted, she's armed. That's probably not a good thing. But I forgot where she told Amy they were going. They were going somewhere special, I think is what she said. I don't think she ever gave any specifics about where they were going, so have no idea where that storyline's heading. Really quickly, I want to pivot to the Rhett and Maria thing, which once again, it's kind of having your getting away and just kind of like choosing your own happiness. It is interesting that the like hotel or motel they ended up at, the guy's like, you know, cats kind of have a sense of things. It's like, yeah, it is kind of interesting. I mean, he's allergic to cats, but also just the cats keep like, you know, meowing at him. And it's like, well, it might be something in your blood and like, you know, something from your dad that's kind of in you that might be kind of considered a little off or a little foreign to the cats. Like maybe there's something there. Once again, also like, right, he's probably still torn between like, because him and Amy went, I mean, God, not Amy, him and Maria went to the motel because it's like, right, let's rest a little bit, and then the next day we'll come to our decision on what we're going to do. It's like, I get the feeling like Rhett's probably going to be like, we have to go back type of thing, but we'll see. We'll see if it's kind of like a lover's getaway type of situation or not, whether it continues down that route or not. You also have what is essentially the ending of the episode, well, near the end of the episode, present day, where Cecilia came back to the house and Royal basically confesses on who he really is. He's done, you know, keeping secrets from her. Granted, he had a conversation with Autumn. It's like, oh, you're going to tell her what we saw in the sky? He's like, no. The fact of the matter is, it's like, are you the only ones that saw that because of your familial situation? Like, would Perry or Rhett have seen it? Maybe Cecilia wouldn't have. I mean, I don't know how many people were like out and about in the street. They probably weren't. That's probably just something like, it does seem like that's something only they kind of click. Like I said, that might be something in their blood. Like if you're connected, like once you've gone through that thing, which Royal's going through it a couple of times, like it stains your body. Maybe it stays like it's intertwined in your DNA. So maybe it's in like all of his kids' DNA, and maybe it's kind of even passed down into Amy's DNA. I mean, obviously she got here some point in time, considering she's currently 8 years old and she's in her like what 20s, if not 30s. But either way, kind of breaking that news to Cecilia, like, yeah, this is me, 1878. It's like, wait, what? Yeah, here's some like an official like birth certificate or something like that. So that's kind of appeal for Cecilia to swallow, and it's like, right, you still believe Amy, Autumn is Amy, and it's like, is she going to think? I mean, I even love at the beginning, Amy was kind of, Autumn was kind of like, oh yeah, like how's it feel to be on the other side of things, where like everyone thinks you're crazy, and it's like, yeah, now you kind of told Cecilia at least some of this. You haven't told her everything. You're probably not going to tell her everything, but you can probably tell her a good chunk of it. But you'd assume she'd have to believe it. I mean, but why would he go above and beyond to come up with such a convoluted and complicated thing if it wasn't like there's truth to it? So it's gonna be interesting to see her reactions in the future. I would assume that comes up next episode of like, okay, how do you handle that? How do you come to terms with Autumn being Amy, but she doesn't really remember anything pre being 9, and we don't really know what her circumstances are, and she's kind of the oddball that she is. So, plus she still got beef with the Tillersons, who are, especially Wayne being like, why does it seem like you're a bad omen? Which is interesting because the beginning of the episode about like the calf being born and the cow being in the situation it was, like Roy was like, yeah, Pops is going to assume like, right, this is kind of a bad sign. And the fact is, the bullet he fired missed when he was trying to put the cow down, mercifully, and ended up doing it the second time. But that first bullet, you see the black goo like coming up from the ground. So I was like, right, interesting. Because I don't think that was oil. It looks like it's like the black goo from the fucking hole in the ground. So some very, very interesting developments. I think that's kind of everything, really. I'm probably missing some stuff here and there, but I'm going into the season knowing next to nothing. Once again, like considering like I didn't have a chance to rewatch season 1, but also I avoided all the trailers, so I don't even have an idea what to even expect from this season. But this is kind of like that. I think season 1 was kind of a slow burn, so it feels like we're back into like the slow burn of season 2 of like, all right, let's kind of slowly pick up where some of these characters and storylines were and see where it all heads. I don't know what to expect, so I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.